to David Dispanat, Bill Cole right here, local photographers. Been on a few of the videos with us. Did the eyeliner video for Westcott, which is a lot of fun. But we're going to be reviewing the Sigma 1.4 art lens, which I've been super happy with. I want to first thank B&H for sending this out, and second, we are not sponsored by Sigma, but we're gonna sound like we are because this is how much we really like their art lenses. We're the art lenses with them. It all started with Bill getting a 50mm art 1.4.
It's my day-to-day, everyday lens. I use it for everything.
It's been downhill since then. One thing I should mention is before they put out their art lens line, and really before the first time I tested it out a month ago at the Cincinnati Photo Expo, I kind of just told people, don't buy Sigma. I hate Sigma. I'm not happy with them. I've owned multiple Sigma lenses when I first started out as a photographer because it was a third-party lens that was a little bit cheaper than Canon that I could afford, and I just had a lot of issues with soft, backwards, forwards focusing. Just had a lot of issues with them. And so I just kind of swore them off, and I wouldn't even touch a Sigma lens for probably 5 years. They came out with the art lens. And really, it's kind of thanks to you. I would have never even thought about messing with their art lenses if I hadn't played around with this 50mm.
And I borrowed the 50mm before I bought it from a friend of mine, Stuart Pretty, and fell in love with it.
Yeah. And now I'm a huge Sigma fan.
Yes.
They might be like my favorite lens company. Sorry, Canon, but Sigma's art line so far that we've tested is just ridiculous.
It's superb.
All right, so now that we're done, getting all excited about Sigma, let's talk a little bit about the 24, Bill.
24 is a great lens, and when I first popped it on the camera, it became my favorite lens almost immediately. Now 24, of course, has some disadvantages. It's close, which means that you don't want to use it to take a portrait. Think about it. If you're 6 inches away from somebody focusing on their nose, the nose is all you're going to see. But for using outside, for landscapes, for shooting a building, I love going around and shooting these large murals we have in Lexington that take up the whole sides of a building. And you can't do that with a 50. You can't do it with an 85. The 24 is built for it. You do get some distortion, as you will with every 24mm lens, but that's easy enough to fix in Photoshop or Lightroom. Yeah. It's not 100% of a fix, but you expect some distortion from a 24. This has less than I expected. I was very impressed with the 24. Back in my old days when we were shooting film, I would shoot a 24 in those days, and it was almost like a fisheye. Now, there's an appreciable slant to the straight lines, but they're easy to straighten with the software, which we didn't have software like that in those days.
Some people like that. They like that look.
Exactly.
And that 24, it's really beautiful.
And it is a beautiful lens. It is absolutely spectacular. I shot with it, and the very second I looked at the back of the camera, I sent David a text and said, this lens is going to get lost in the bottom of my bag. B&H will never see it again. Not true, but you get the idea.
Well, and then I had the 85 at the time. Bill had the 24, and I was like, hey, let's swap. I want to play with the 24 a little bit, and I had it for a few days. Bill took the 85 and wouldn't give it back to me.
I lost it. I'm sorry. It's gone. It's gone.
Bill rant and raved about the 24. Then he sends me a text and goes, 24 is amazing. 85, I'm going to buy it.
Yeah.
By the way, we're doing a review on the 85 as well, so we'll pop a video link right here. Another thing to mention, Bill's going to kind of walk us through. We mainly did a test to see how our bokeh looked, focal points, sharpness, diffraction, softness, at what different f-stops. We went through the range, and we're going to pick a handful of those pictures, and Bill's going to jump on Photoshop. We're going to screen capture it. And he's actually going to break down far as how the 24 performed at different f-stops. And it's going to be really good information for people that are going to get real technical about buying the lens. If you're interested in buying it, it's going to give you a lot of good information about that. So,
one of the things I would recommend to everybody is when you are evaluating a lens, test it yourself.
Yeah.
We'll explain the conditions of the test and just put it on a tripod, shoot it, and then compare the images yourself. And that will tell you where your lens's sweet spot is. It's something that I learned through making this video that I need to do with every lens in my bag.
And so what he's talking about sweet spot is, where is your lens the sharpest? The average lens is going to be sharp between 7.1 and 8. That's usually where it sits. But sometimes it's between 8 and 11. And you get higher than 11, you're going to get what's called diffraction. Now, diffraction is when the image is in focus, but you're starting to lose sharpness the higher your f-stop is.
Right.
Same thing when you go lower f-stop, you're going to get more of that depth of field, so more of it's going to kind of fade out and be blurred in a manner. Not really blurred, but out of focus.
Just less sharp.
Yeah, less sharp.
That's the best way of putting
it.
it.
You get that real depth of field, and you can get that really cool background and kind of just focus on the face when you get to those lower f-stops.
And bokeh and sharpness are in many cases a trade-off.
Yeah.
The best bokeh out there is never going to be where your lens is the sharpest.
Right. But sometimes you need that extra light as well. You're shooting a wedding.
Exactly.
I could see the 24 having some value with wedding photography minus a little bit of that barrel distortion, or some, I guess, photojournalism if you're trying to do more shots with a larger amount of people in the shot where you're not focusing on one or two subjects.
I really liked it for architectural street photography.
Yeah, and that's what Bill's had a lot of fun. I think
Yeah.
actually he's going to try to get some more pictures in before we have to send it back.
Exactly, because I'm going to sneak out. We got good weather today.
Yeah.
I'm going to go play.
Another thing that we noticed when we were looking on the forums is some people were complaining about the lens not being as sharp or too soft in some aspects. Here's the thing. If you're holding the lens by hand, even at 1/60th of shutter speed, you're still going to get, your hand still moves some. Throwing it on a tripod, using a shutter release, you're going to notice a major difference. I mean, if I handheld a shot, then I pretty much put it on the tripod similar to the same shot that I just took, and you zoom in, you're going to be like, wow, there's a major difference here. So it's a lot about, as a photographer, how you're going to operate your lens to make sure that you can possibly get the most sharp image possible.
And no gear out there is ever going to substitute for basic technique of how do you shoot.
Technique, and that comes with just practice. I mean, trial and error and learning. You can hear us talk about it, but if you don't get out there and practice it and make it part of your system, your workflow, then you might still have those issues with certain lenses not being as sharp as you think they should be. Just remember where your f-stop's at, put it on a tripod, use a shutter release, or try to stabilize yourself as best as possible. I know, shooting a wedding, you can't be walking around with a tripod shooting, right? So think about how you hold. I like to hold my camera here, and I like to use the side of my body and then here, and this is going to give me better stabilization than if I'm like out here, So if I'm a little more tighter, then I'm going to get better stabilization. My images should be a little bit sharper than if it was sitting out here. Just something as simple as that.
And two of the quick tips that I learned from local landscape photographer John Snell. If you're standing in a creek and you've got water hitting the bottom of your tripod legs, you're going to get some motion in your tripod.
Yeah.
No matter what, even if the water is moving just a little bit. It's not as stable as you think, even if you hang a weight from your tripod. Also, one of the things that nobody ever bothered to mention to me, when you're on a tripod, turn your image stabilizer off, because the engine of the image stabilizer can actually create shake in the lens itself.
Yeah, we turn it off when we're shooting this video right now.
Exactly, anytime you're on a tripod.
Yeah. So Bill is going to jump into Photoshop. Now we are going to, like I said, screen capture. There will be a folder of JPEGs for you guys to download so you can follow along. The resolution is going to be as good as we can possibly make it for YouTube, but you're not really going to see the full resolution of these images. You'll be able to see it in the video, but not nearly as well as you'll be able to see it if you download these images, pop it into your Lightroom or your Photoshop, and physically pixel peep. And then I know there's you pixel peepers out there that just want to, let's see if it's really as good as these guys are saying it is. And I think you guys are going to be impressed.
It will be JPEGs for the downloads.
Yeah.
We will be looking at the RAWs on the camera.
Right.
There is, of course, a difference, but I know you don't want to spend 6 days downloading all of the RAW files.
So I guess let's jump into Photoshop.
Let's jump into
and
it.
talk about them.
It's time.
All right. We'll see you guys in Photoshop.
So what I've got called up here is the 1.4, the 4.0, the 8.0, and the 16 of the Sigma Art 24 millimeter. Now the image, by the way, is the 85 millimeter, just because I needed something to picture. The test was fairly simple. The lights back here to create the bokeh are exactly 4 feet from the subject lens, and I've got the lens set up on my 5D Mark III at basically the minimum focal length for that particular lens. So all of these are set up to be the exact same light, because I use the evaluative meter on my camera to equalize at 0. So every single thing is the exact same light, as close as you can reasonably get it. In other words, I'm controlling for as many variables as I can in the studio. So what I want to show first is to take a look at the bokeh. And I'm going to call up all 4 of the images in order to give you an idea of what it looks like. Now, if you notice, I'm hovering over the green lights that I have hanging in the background, but I'm also going to be looking at the bokeh lines that you see here on the edges. And I just want to show you what the differences are between them. So this is 1.4. Let's call up the 4.0. Again, notice that this is getting much sharper, but it's also much brighter. The 8.0 and the 16. There we go. Gives you an idea of the difference in bokeh and the depth of field between the four of them. And I'm going to go backwards to give you an idea this route. There's the 16, the 8.0, the 4.0, and the 1.4. Again, the bokeh is absolutely gorgeous at 1.4, but as we find out when we blow this up a little bit, and I'm going to take this up to 200%, and then move it over, and I'll show you exactly what I focused on. This colon right here between the ratio on the lens is my focal point. Each image I'm going to call up now in order, and I'll show you the sharpness of it. Again, this was all set up on a tripod. It is as sharp as it can possibly be. So at 1.4, we see a little bit of fuzziness right there. We go to 4.0, and again, I'm using my zoom key down here to blow it up to 200%, and shift and my mouse, and that gives you this, significantly sharper than the 1.4. 4.0 is about where this lens becomes really sharp. If we go to the 8.0, and again take it up to 200%, move it over to that colon. Wow, this is the sweet spot for that lens, roughly 8.0. If we go to 16, and then call back over, as sharp as you can possibly get. And I'm going to go back through all four of these right now. This is the 16. Look at the colon at 200%. There it is at 8. F4, getting a little bit fuzzier. And 1.4, significantly fuzzier. Using my hotkey, I'm just going to go to Command 0 to go back to the full frame image there, and then flip over to the full frame image on the 16. It is a beautiful lens, absolutely a beautiful lens. Going to call up now one image here that I shot with it, which is perfect for the 24. In Lexington, we have buildings with murals on the side. This particular mural was painted, I believe, by a mural artist named Odith. He's done several of the murals here. He's absolutely amazing work. 5 stories tall, and this building is over 100 feet long. What it actually is an old abandoned rick house where we aged bourbon at. Back toward the old Lexington distillery, I believe it was. Now it's a industrial building that's rented out to different, but you see on the back of it this huge, absolutely gorgeous mural. Now, notice right down here, a random person that happened to be walking by as I took the image. This will give you an idea of how sharp this is. I'm going to blow this up, and I'm using the hotkey. On a Mac, it is Command plus to go up one level. On a PC, it would be Control instead of Command. But I'm going to blow this up. Just notice the sharpness, each level as I go up. The brick pattern is amazing. Now we're at 100%, 200%, 300%, 500, 400%, and 500%. Maximum magnification in Photoshop. Take a look if I can find the patterns and the one person that I happen to catch in the image. The full-size image again. This lens is absolutely fantastic. It is a 24. It's one of the sharpest 24s I've ever seen. Now, I did have to do a little bit of adjusting in Photoshop to get the lines straight, but that's a very easy. It's a one-click adjustment. You can do it in Lightroom, Photoshop. You can also use other software to correct that. Now, just below, you're going to find a packet that's got all of the JPEGs that I used for this test, and we're going to put a few images up, more murals that I shot here in Lexington, which will give you an idea of the professional, fully edited versions that you can get out of this lens. Also, you'll find a link down below that connects you to B&H so you can take a look at the lens, and if perchance you happen to buy it, that small commission that we do get does help to keep media unlocked afloat. So click on the lens link, take a look at the lens, take a look at the images, and take a look for yourself at the JPEGs on how sharp this lens actually is.
Hey guys, if you'd like to check out our website where we have all kinds of fun and exciting blogs, videos, and extra information that isn't on our YouTube page, click right here. If you'd like to talk to us or contact us and kind of take a look at all the different stuff that we have going on, we've kind of funneled it all through our Facebook. You can hit our Facebook page right here and follow us or like us. Now, if you like to look at cool pictures and behind the scenes stuff, we do that on Instagram right here. So go on and follow us on Instagram. And of course, we got our cute little bird right here, Mr. Twitter, and you can follow us as we do our short tweets.